Unless you've been living under a rock since 2017, chances are you've heard of Fortnite, the Battle Royale game that has evolved into one of the most popular games in the world. With a game as big as Fortnite, fans would probably think the next step for the game would be on the big screen. In today's modern Hollywood, video game movies are becoming more common and well known, so it's not too far-fetched to think that Fortnite might get a cinematic adaptation someday. But if we did get a movie about this game, what would it be like? Would it just be about Battle Royale? Would there be no story? Would it be live action or animated? Today we're going to discuss the possibilities of what a Fortnite film could be like. Now before we get into this video, I would just like to say if you enjoyed the content we make on this channel, don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot of really good movies coming out over the summer that I'll be doing reviews on, and we'll also be doing retrospectives on older movies. But anyways, let's get back into the video. And now to the first big question. Would this be live action or animated? I personally believe that this would be an animated film. Don't get me wrong, live action could work too, but if we look back at the season cinematic trailers, Fortnite has already shown that they have a good animation capability. They've also converted real actors and actresses into skins in the game, so they could use that tactic for their characters in the movie. But now, what most of you are probably wondering, what's the plotline or storyline of this hypothetical Fortnite movie going to be? A lot of you probably think that there is no story to Fortnite, and it's just pew, 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 guns. But you're wrong. Throughout the more recent seasons of Fortnite Battle Royale, the seasons have become less focused on the storyline and more focused on the new mechanics and the new skins and the new features of the game. I mean, sure, we still have story quests in Fortnite, but it feels like stories become a lot less important since the end of Chapter 3. So, here's the basic premise for the Fortnite storyline. The island, which we land on every game, is artificial and was created by a company known as the Imagined Order, or the IO. And under the map is the 0 point, pretty much the heart of the map. When the 0 point's in trouble, then the entire island is going down. The island is basically an experiment by the Imagined Order, who is using the 0 point to get test subjects from other dimensions and realities. These subjects forget everything about their past lives and are forced to fight out in a battle royale. The game either ends with them dying to another opponent or getting the victory royale. Either way, they forget everything about what just happened and repeat the same loop every 22 minutes. The 7 are a group of people who managed to escape the Fortnite loop system using high-tech suits, but instead of returning to their original realities, they decide to become the guardians of the heart of the island, the 0 point. And the antagonist of the storyline is the Nothing, basically an ancient deity that works with the last reality in hopes of destroying the Fortnite island and becoming, well, the last reality. And, using these plot points, I put together a decent story that could be converted into a real Fortnite movie. Now, keep in mind, this might not be 100% accurate to the Fortnite storyline. We're just taking bits and pieces of the storyline and forming a somewhat new story. But our film would follow the Paradigm, or at least the person who would become the Paradigm, as she lands on the Fortnite island with no memories of her past life. We would watch her as she tried to get used to using these weapons to defend herself, most of the time dying and forgetting everything which just happened. She can understand how long she's been there, she just can't remember anything specific about the match she just played. And as the film progresses on, it becomes clear that this is not the life she or any of the other Fortnite players would want to live. One day though, she would discover something strange. She would come across a small cave, and within it, a vault that led underground. The Paradigm would notice a keypad with mysterious symbols and figures on them. It was obvious that the door needed a code to be opened, so she began to type random combinations of the mysterious figures. But eventually, she had to leave the cave to avoid being killed in the storm. But she decided she was going to test something out. She snuck into the nearby tilted towers and got a pin from one of the office buildings. On the cyber arm, she wrote where exactly she could find this cave again, and the combination she had already tried on the keypad. And when the match ended and the loop reset, the instructions were still on the cyber arm. So every match, she would return to this cave and keep trying codes on the keypad, knowing that eventually she would crack the code. But one day, she returned to the cave and something was different. Some sort of guard was patrolling it and proceeded to shoot at the Paradigm when she approached the entrance. Now, the Paradigm, who had become pretty skillful with the weapons, was able to take out the guard with ease, but the placement of this guard showed that somebody was watching her, somebody that didn't want her getting into that vault. This is where the Imagined Order would come into play, as they were the ones guarding the vault. But the Imagined Order would soon become too busy to keep an eye on the Paradigm, as something much stranger was going on the island. Now, if any of you played in Chapter 1, which I did not, you'll probably remember the formation of Kevin the Cube, a large purple cube that suddenly spawned on the island without warning. And when this thing appeared in the game, nobody knew what this was. In our movie, the Imagined Order doesn't either. They don't know where this thing came from, they don't know if it poses any danger to the map, they don't know what type of power it possesses. So, with this little knowledge, the Imagined Order keeps the cube under close observation. This gave the Paradigm more time to get closer to cracking the code of the vault. And after almost hundreds of matches of Fortnite, her skin's basically tattooed with all the code she's tried on the lock, until one day she puts in the right code and the doors open. At first she's a little disappointed as the vault is very small and it doesn't seem like there's much in there, until she discovers one of 7 high-tech suits. Out of pure curiosity, she puts on one of the suits, but while she's wearing it, she hears the bow bus pass overhead, which is impossible because if the loop had reset, she would be on that battle bus. Except, she'd escaped the loop. Using this suit, she was free from the grasp of the IO. Also, she discovered notes in the bunker from the previous inhabitants of the bunker, which had long since mysteriously disappeared. Definitely wasn't the IO's doing, but the notes all talked about something called the 0 point. The notes said it was responsible for bringing them all there under the control of the IO, but it also said that was the key to getting everyone back to their home realities. The notes also said that the 0 point was being protected and guarded by the IO in an underground compartment in the center of the map. But there was a way to expose the 0 point. If they could raise the 0 point above the underground compartment and get all the loopers to jump in, then they would automatically be sent back to their original realities and be free from this artificial prison. The Paradigm, however, knew she couldn't do this alone. So for a long time, the Paradigm observed the loopers, trying to find those most skilled in combat, but also most trustworthy. After observing for a while, she brought together 6 of the island's best warriors to help expose the 0 point. These warriors would later become members of the 7, such as the Foundation. Now, with the Imagined Order still somewhat preoccupied with the mysterious purple cube, the 7 successfully find and sneak into the Imagined Order's secret underground lair, which holds the 0 point. And here's a scene that would have to be in the movie. While breaking into the Imagined Order's lair, the 7 would encounter a guard who throws a boogie bomb at all of them, which would cause them to dance uncontrollably. And the guard would begin to shoot at them, which would lead the 7 to learn how to dodge and fight the guard mid-dance, which I think would be pretty funny, but it would also lead up to the ending of the movie. Long story short, the 7 successfully exposed the 0 point, raising it above the ground. The Battle Royale players would take notice of this and attempt to run into the 0 point to return to their original realities. But the Imagined Order wasn't going to lose their test subject so easily. An army, led by Dr. Sloan, surrounded the 0 point and fought off anyone who attempted to approach it. It was an all-out war. The 7 and the Loopers were now allies, fighting against the Imagined Order. Now, with the massive uprising taking place on the island, the Imagined Order completely forgot about the mysterious purple cube, which had begun to move. Now, this cube would roll into Loot Lake, like a lot of us remember happening in Season 5. But instead of creating a floating island like what happened in Season 6, it would do something else. The lake would turn into a portal from another dimension. And out of the portal would come the Storm King, a familiar sight to Save the World players. The monster has come for one thing, the destruction of the 0 point, and with it exposed above the island is a sitting duck, an easy target. Fortnite was originally going to be a zombie survival game, so I feel like including the Storm King from Save the World is an honorable way to reference what Fortnite was supposed to be. With the new massive threat to the island, the IO, the 7, and the Loopers temporarily forget their conflict to fight off the Storm King and the massive load of zombies that come with him. In this fight scene where the zombies are trying to kill the Loopers and the IO, we would see how both sides fight differently. For example, the Imagined Order would use more military-like weaponry, such as tanks, missiles, and bitplanes. At the same time, we would see how the Loopers would use more makeshift weaponry, golf carts, shockwave grenades, even balloons. Now the 7, the IO, and the Loopers really have no trouble fighting off the zombies, But the bad thing is the zombies are distracting them from the slowly approaching Storm King. The Looper's artillery does nothing against the Storm King. Even the IO and 7 weapons combined don't do anything. So in a last-ditch effort to find anything that can save them, the Paradigm returns to the 7 bunker. She searches the bunker frantically as she can hear the Storm King approaching slowly from outside. Suddenly, she finds a hidden door behind a shelf, and she opens it to find herself on the ledge of a 100-foot drop. As she leans out to see what's in the dark room, the motion-activated lights turn on to reveal a massive mech robot. Now, in the real Fortnite storyline, the Paradigm is the one who builds the mech to fight off the monster in the Robot vs. Monster event. But for the sake of the movie, we'll say that the mech was built by previous members of the 7. With the Paradigm piloting it, the mech would burst out of the ground and rush towards the Storm King, who had almost reached the 0 point. Now, considering that the Paradigm wouldn't be used to piloting it, it would take a few minutes for her to get used to it and then really unlock its full power. Now, in the scene, we would have an amazing shot of the IO and Loopers fighting off against the zombies, with the massive fight between the mech and the Storm King in the background. Unfortunately, despite their best efforts, the mech is overpowered by the Storm King and slammed to the ground, temporarily deactivating it. The Paradigm, who's inside the mech, successfully gets it working again, but if it took another blow like it just did, it would be the end of the mech and the end of the island. Suddenly, the Paradigm, who is still in the pilot seat of the mech, looks over and sees a big red button labeled "Press for Emergencies Only." As the last hope of this island, she presses the button, and the robot throws a boogie bomb at the Storm King. And, luckily, it affects him. He starts dancing right in front of him. Ironic that the thing that had almost gotten the 7 killed earlier in the movie is what saves them against the Storm King. While the Storm King is unable to fight back due to the effects of the boogie bomb, the mech lunges into the Storm King and sims him into the 0 point. The power of the 0 point is too much for the massive monster to handle. At contact with the 0 point, the Storm King begins to disintegrate, his massive appearance deforming, his power draining. The once massive deity had been reduced to blue particles flowing away in the wind, similar to the blue particles that appears when a player is eliminated in a match. The enemy had been defeated, but at what cost? The Storm King's contact with the 0 point had done great damage upon it. The 0 point, if it were to survive, had to reform itself. Suddenly, the 0 point emitted a bright, blinding light. The gravity was changing, and members of the IO, the 7, and the Loopers alike went flying into the air. Suddenly, the bright light began to suck everything in. Buildings were being destroyed, terrain being ripped up from the ground, vehicles thrown through the air. The Loopers tried to escape, but there was no escaping the gravitational pull of the 0 point. Suddenly, everything went dark. I'm sure a lot of you remember this screen right here. The black hole which brought an end to OG Fortnite is what would bring an end to our film, with the original Fortnite theme playing in the background as the credits roll. Now, some of you are probably thinking, where's the nothing? We never got to what the nothing was or the last reality. Well, this would have to be a trilogy to include that. The next film would start in the Chapter 2 map, and it would be revealed that the Storm King was one of the Nothing's minions. The villain of the next movie would probably be the Cube Queen in the last reality, which includes the Cube monsters and the aliens. The Nothing would be revealed in an end credits scene at the end of the second movie, and then he would take center stage as the main villain of the third film, ending the trilogy. For those of you who are still watching this late in the video, you are true legends. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to help support the channel and maybe help it get a little more attention, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll be back with more film related videos soon in the future, and I could always do a sequel to this video where I talk about what a sequel to the Fortnite movie I made would be like. Anyways, that's all for now. Thank you for watching. This is Fowl.